In order to service our views with dynamic content, we need to create a data source that will feed our interface. We'll start with defining a data model to describe our content, and then we'll incorporate it in the structure of our UI needs. Finally, it's time to start coding.
So we've got our initial requirements figured out. Now we need to create a project. We'll be working with a single view application template, and it needs to include 3 controllers. We'll have a view controller to display a list of our media items, another view controller to display details, and a navigation controller to perform transition between the two. You can go ahead and create your own initial project, or you can simply download a starter project that I created for you. Let's review what we have here. First, we'll start with the main storyboard. As you can see, it's got a media view controller to display our grid, the detail view controller to display some details, and the media view controller is embedded in navigation controller to perform the transitions. Next, we've got 2 view controller subclasses to work with the view controllers on our storyboard. What's important here is that our subclass names are assigned to the view controllers on the storyboard. To verify that, you can select a view controller and make sure proper class names are assigned on Identity Inspector. Now let's switch to project configuration. In Deployment Info section, make sure that we select iPhone for device. And we're going to support only portrait orientation, so make sure the rest is unchecked. We also got some goodies in our image assets. We've got an app icon, a logo, and some placeholders for media item and swag item. We also have a fancy launch screen. Now we're all set and ready to start creating our data model. So let's review what information we need to display for our content. Our media item is described as an image for artwork, name of the song, artist name, collection that it is part of, and iTunes link for more details. A swag item will contain a title, an image for artwork, and external URL for more details. In this course, we're going to be using iTunes Search API to populate our data. So let's take a look at that. The iTunes Search API website presents all the information that is necessary to integrate it in your project. I recommend that you read through all of it for better understanding. We're going to use 2 components of that: search to generate a list and lookup to get details of a specific item. So let's review what kind of data we should be expecting. Or we can get some more explanation in a detail view right below it. Quickly scanning through, we can identify the properties that we'll need. For example, track name, artist name, collection name sound like exactly what we need. So let's go back to our project and start creating classes. First, we need 2 new files. The first one, media.swift, will contain our media object, and the second one will be for swag. Let's start with media. We're going to have 2 classes. The first one will help us describe a list item, and the second one will be for details. Here's how it may look like. The media brief class will contain all the necessary attributes to display items on the list. Those are title, artist name, and artwork URL. And we have a couple more additional properties here. The first one is an ID, which is an iTunes ID that will help us to look up more details of that item in the iTunes Store. And planning ahead, because for the artwork we have only URL, we are going to have another property, artwork data, to store the actual image data. And since we have non-optional properties here, we have to have an initializer that will require those values as parameters. Next, we are expanding our media brief class by subclassing it into media class and adding a couple more properties to it, the collection and the source URL. And here we've got another non-optional property, and therefore we created a new initializer to support it. Now let's switch to swag file. Here we're going to create a class that will describe our swag item. Here's how it may look like. The structure of it is very similar to our media items. We've got title, artwork URL, and source URL. All of them are non-optional, and we're going to have an initializer to support it. And just like for the media class, we're going to have two extra properties here, an ID and artwork data. All right, we now got our data structure covered with the new classes we just created. Well done!